Hey guys, Kristen here. Literally just finished reading this book. Had to jump right on. Go ahead and record action 6 for us today, you guys. We made it action 6. And honestly though, this might be my favorite chapter in the entire book. It's short and it's powerful and it reminds me of something we don't talk about enough in math class. And that's the fact that learning doesn't end when the task ends, you guys. Reflection is what turns learning and struggle into learning that lasts. So, today we're going to talk about how to intentionally close the lesson in a way that helps students make meaning, recognize their growth, name the strategies they've used, and build a habit of productive struggle that they can carry forward. So, if you're up for it, let's do this. One final episode here on the Modern Math Teacher Podcast, exploring our mini series on the productive math struggle. All right, you guys. So, Philip said it back in 1987. Students need time to know what they learned, why they learned it, and how it can be useful. And in 2008, Sousa took it even further. Learning sticks when students make meaning both of the content and of the experience. That part matters, you guys, so much. Reflection signals to students that math is more than just getting the right answer. It's more than just following a process, and it's more than finishing a worksheet. Can you see why I love it so much? It is more than just solving for X, okay? Reflection says that the struggle mattered, the thinking mattered, you mattered. And when students reflect on how they worked through the challenge, they can then begin to see struggle as a skill and not a flaw. And that's how habits of productive struggle are built. Now, reflection, you guys, does not need to be complicated. So let me say this out loud for us. Most of us were never trained to plan for reflection. Lesson closure was not something that was emphasized in our teacher prep, and reflection often gets skipped when time is tight. I get it. Okay. I've been there. I've done that. I'm guilty of it too. But listen, reflection doesn't need to be long or fancy. And I love the actionable items that were in this book. This book does a great job of reminding us that the quality of ideas matter more than the quality of writing. Okay. That reflection needs a place to live, maybe even like a math journal. And that variety is the spice of life. Okay. We want different types of reflection for different purposes. And we got to shake it up a little bit. Otherwise, it's just going to get stale and mundane. And our students are going to give us the same reflection time and time again. And we don't want that. And they don't want that. So here are a few high impact strategies that I loved. Okay. So, journaling, number one, obviously, right? And it gave really specific prompts in the books that you can use. So, prompts focused on struggle behaviors, not just the content. Things like what was challenging today? What was a strategy that helped you push through? What would you try next time you feel stuck? These are perfect to bundle in with other routines. I would even venture to say if you've got an exit ticket, on one side, they're solving the problem. So you can check and see if they actually can do the mathematics. And on the other side, they can journal about the productive struggle that they engaged in. Okay. I love it. I love it when it's like a twofer, it's a win-win. Okay. Another really cool one that I liked here was who I learned from, where your students pick a classmate that helped them learn and they identify how they helped them learn. Love that. Reinforces community, values collaboration, shifts the focus away from teacher-centered learning to student-centered and peer-centric. Love, love, love this. Also, a really great one that was revisited was that picture of struggle, where you can go back if you've already got those productive struggle images up in your room, and students are going to select which image represents how they struggled that day. I love it. They can do it with a partner. They can do it 4 corners. You can add some movement in there, keep it private. Doesn't matter. But I love that you can repurpose this strategy. Okay. The key move here, though, is asking why they chose that picture. So remember, it's not just enough to be like, oh, that one's me. They have to explain why. What did that mean in terms of their struggle for the day? Okay. One word, love this, gonna use this. Pick one word that captures their struggle experience. It's fast, powerful, and especially supportive of emerging bilinguals, which I love. I have a lot of multilingual learners. And I love the strategy in here of creating a word bank the first time and then being able to reuse that. That's really going to be helpful for my students. And then I find someone who, this one is great too for building on that community that we've worked so hard on in 2 and 3, fostering their own identity and building that community, right? So identifying a productive struggle behavior that they personally show, right? Like their identity, and then finding somebody else who showed that same behavior and having a conversation about that. Okay. But just make sure that you're cautious about anxiety. So if you limit the number of behaviors down to 4, that's going to make it a lot easier for students to find a partner. Whereas if you have 20 different options, some of your students might not get partnered, and that's going to up the anxiety, when we were trying to drop the anxiety. And if you were on YouTube, you saw my hands. And if not, you just saw me or heard me make a couple weird whoop noises. It's fine. You can also convert this into like a journaling activity if you want to. But I liked that idea of it, empowering their own identity and then connecting with the community. Okay. And then there's a super cool data display that I love. I love anytime that you can capture data and like show it with the class. So the struggle behaviors that you're taking data on are listed across like the horizontal axis. Then students place a dot sticker above the ones that they use. I love that you could do this with like different classes to see, what's most popular in each hour. That could be super cool. It's a frequency graph. It's visual. It's powerful. It's informative. You can see how it changes and adapts over time. Maybe, if they do it after a couple of different lessons, like, oh, this is what I use this time. And like, oh, that's a strategy I haven't used. Maybe I'm going to try it. Or then maybe you can like start class and say, hey, look at the frequency graph. Our class color is red. Look at which ones you think that you've placed your dot on the most. Let's pick a different strategy to try today. Right? Okay. I just love it. Okay. Evaluative reflections. I love the got it, tried it quadrant. Like you can see behind me if you're on YouTube. I love me a good quadrant. It's how well they understood versus how hard they tried. So great. They can do it on a big board. They can do it in a personal notebook. They can even like just straight up draw that in their notebooks. I love place a dot where they are in those quadrants and then a date and then like reflects like why. Right. Remember, our goal is always to ask them like, why? What were you doing that put you here? How can we move to another quadrant if necessary? So things like that. Goldilocks reflection, which I love, was the task too easy, too hard, just right? Fantastic. But again, students need to explain their why and what they might need next time to make it more challenging or to be able to access that more readily. Okay. Then it always comes down to how often should we do this, right? Big question teachers want to know because we're trying to balance our content acquisition with our capacity to build student confidence and to struggle productively. So, I wouldn't do it every day. The book says maybe not every day. It might be too much. I think I'm probably going to try it at least once a week. Um, and definitely varying up which ones I do. I love the data display. I definitely want to do that. And again, anytime I'm going to collect a cool down, I think I could add a journal prompt to that pretty easily. So it's not like an extra thing to do, right? It's not going to take a bunch of extra time. I'm already going to be reading their cool downs, their exit tickets. So I might as well ask them to journal a little bit on there and get a little bit more insight. So just a quick thing that you can do. And again, like while we're reflecting and in all of this, remember that like reflection should be expected, but like sharing about it is optional. So you might not want to have them do a partner talk about it, but maybe they do want to. So, just keep that in mind. All right. And don't forget, you're a teacher and you need to reflect too. This chapter reminds us that teacher reflection is just as important. And listen, as somebody going for my board certification, I can tell you that is 100% true. I'm constantly thinking about and reflecting on what happened, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to plan for it, how I'm going to know my students learned, like all the things. Okay. So I had a couple of great ideas. Jot in the moment notes on a clipboard or sticky notes. Love this. I do it all the time. Journal when your students journal and reflect right after the lesson. I love that. If I'm going to ask them to journal for 5 minutes, I can also journal for 5 minutes about how that lesson went. Right? Chef's kiss. Get it all done at the same time. And then it sets up that like culture in your classroom that like, hey, I reflect on this too. You reflect on your learning. I reflect on my learning about how we did together as a class. And that's just gold for like improving instruction, collaborative planning, and of course, national board certification. So, I make sure that you guys are celebrating everything that your students have done. You've made it this far. You have valued productive struggle. You've helped them foster an identity of productive struggle and build a community that supports it. You've planned for it. You've supported them during the lesson, and now you're reflecting on that. And so go ahead and make sure that we celebrate them a little bit, but make sure to consider like who your students are. One of the big things for national boards is knowing your students. And so knowing if they would rather have public or private recognition is going to be key here because you don't want it to come at like a social cost. You don't want them to be called like a try hard if that's going to deeply impact them. But on the other hand, I have a few students I can like vividly picture in my mind right now that would feel so empowered and happy to have their name called out like for their strategy and for trying hard. So knowing your students really matters here. So it doesn't have to be public. It can always be private note, quiet shout out, parent phone call, whatever it is, or just shout them out and say, so and so used an amazing strategy. It helped them get unstuck today. Did anyone else try that strategy? I love it because you're then shining a spotlight on them and then inviting others to participate in that community as well. So, recognition, of course, matters. Just make sure that you're being thoughtful. All right, you guys, that wraps up this mini series, which is just insane. If you guys want to dive into more books, for sure, shoot me a message. Let me know. You guys can text the podcast right in your app. So just click on that. Let me know if there's any other books you want to deep dive. I love using books that are like grounded in lots of good research and are like good synthesis of those. So this one was fantastic. Loved doing this with you guys. Your mini move for the week is to add one reflection prompt to your lesson closure. So focus on struggle, not on answers with it, but just one, right? Because reflection is how your students are going to make the meaning. They're going to recognize their growth. They're going to build confidence, and they're going to develop lifelong perseverance. And that, my friends, wraps up the Productive Math Struggle mini series. 6 actions, 1 powerful shift. As always, keep reflecting on your own practice, keep celebrating your own growth. And until next time, keep it real.